Hello, everyone, and welcome to Continuing the Conversation, live from the 2012 APWA Congress Expo floor. My name is Emily Barta, and it is time to talk about recycled glass. Sitting next to me is the supervising engineer for the City of Austin, Texas Public Works Department. This is Steve Penshorn. Steve, welcome.
Thanks, Emily. It's a great thing you're doing here with Continuing the Conversation, and I'm glad to be in Anaheim here for the 2012 APWA Congress.
Well, we're really excited to talk to you about how to use recycled glass in your public works projects. Now, for everyone here in Anaheim, Steve is doing a session tomorrow morning. That is Wednesday, the 29th at 8:30 a.m., but this is your dedicated one-on-one time with him to get your questions answered. So when you have questions, just raise your hand. For everyone at home, you know the drill. Go to that lower left-hand corner of your screen and click on that Q&A button to submit your question. And no matter where you are sitting or standing right now, don't forget that APWA is on Twitter, and you can join that conversation at hashtag APWA Expo. Okay, Steve, we're talking about recycled glass. So let's start at the beginning. What? Recycled glass in public works projects, what does this mean?
Absolutely. This really isn't a new concept. The idea is we're taking glass waste, primarily bottles, glass containers and whatnot that would normally be in the waste stream, taking those out, crushing those down into a material that is like a gravel, a sand, and we're trying to use that on our public works projects in place of the natural materials that we otherwise would use.
Okay, but I thought that when you recycle glass, it just becomes new glass bottles. You're telling us that it's more than that.
That's a great point. That's exactly what I thought years ago. And in fact, most of the glass that does get collected does get reused in the glass market to make new glass containers. But there is a component of that glass that gets collected for recycling that isn't really suitable for that application. And that's really an interesting dynamic in and of itself. We have the glass that makes it to the glass market to get melted down into new glass containers needs to be really very clean. It needs to be sorted by color. You can't have mixed colors. You can't have green and brown and clear mixed together. So that for the glass market, they need for the material to be for the glass to be a single color. It needs to be very clean. It can't have too many impurities. You can't have ceramics or Pyrex even is not really suitable for glass. It doesn't melt at the same temperature, and so all of those things make it much more challenging for them to get glass that's of the highest quality that they need in the glass market. So as recycled glass gets collected and makes it to materials recycling facilities, that commingled and mixed colored glass is one that really doesn't have the same kind of market that a clean single colored glass does, and that's really what we're talking about here is that material that's this extra material that's collected for recycling that is not suitable for the glass industry. So we're talking about that component is really there and available for us to go seek out, use on public works projects.
Well,
and
what is it suitable for?
Well, that's where public works comes into play. We really have an opportunity to use this in ways that few others can. It's a material that resembles, they break this stuff down, and it's very much like a sand or a gravel, and so it's very suitable as an alternative aggregate in construction applications, and we have a lot of projects like that in public works, and so we have a lot of big opportunity to use this.
Okay, who has had an opportunity to use recycled glass in their public works project? If anyone here in Anaheim wants to raise their hand and share their story, their success story, we would love to hear from you. And for everyone joining us from home or from the office, have you used recycled glass in your public works project? If so, what did you do? Tell us all about it. We want to hear, and you can do so via that Q&A button that you see in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. And of course, Steve is here to answer your questions. So if at any time you have any questions, be sure to input those as well. And if not, you mentioned, and you're here because you're using recycled glass in public works projects. So talk to me about what the City of Austin, Texas has done.
Absolutely. We didn't just pursue this for the fun of it. We had our own real problem in that we had a waste stream of glass that was a commingled color that was going to our materials recycling facility. and the glass was coming in. We had a crusher that was we had for many years. Primarily, we were reducing the material in the past, so it was easy to manage. But what we were finding was that this material was starting to accumulate. We were getting stockpiles of this material. We were having difficulty getting rid of it. Really, we were sending it out to stockpile at the landfill. We're trying to give it away for free almost. We're working with other cities, City of San Antonio. We're shipping material to the City of San Antonio in hopes that they can try to find an application for it. And it became a real problem for us. We're spending a lot of time and energy sending this material around. It's not finding a home, and we're busting at the seams. We literally cannot give it away. And as a last resort, you push it into the landfill, and that was really sad to see. And that's kind of where things turned for us, and we started looking into what others were doing across the country, and it was amazing. For 20 years, there's been an incredible amount of work done by other states and agencies and individuals, even here at APWA, that have promoted the use of this and kind of pioneered the way for about the material properties, learning more about them, pilot projects and whatnot. And some of that's kind of lost steam in the last 10 years as the glass manufacturing industry has really been aggressive with new processes to sort glass and whatnot. But as they reach kind of their technical limits of what they can take, further progress will really fall on others like Public Works to use this material in ways that are in the secondary type of market and not the glass remanufacturing market.
So specifically, what ways has the City of Austin used the recycled glass?
Yes, excellent. So we learned a lot from the state of Washington, state of Minnesota, state of California, Pennsylvania, and agencies like the EPA and Clean Washington Center did some outstanding work. They've created the best practices really for using glass. We learned on what others had done and learned from their pilot projects. We set out to do laboratory testing on the material and see exactly what we had and where it would be suitable. We then looked for projects coming down the pike that were appropriate for this application, and we worked our way through the barriers for a number of these type of projects.
What specifically?
That's a great question. So we had a variety of projects. Some were kind of the low-hanging fruit, if you will, the ones that were kind of easy to apply quickly, and we had some projects that were a little more technically complicated, and we had some lesson learned on those. Some of the easier projects we had like sidewalk bedding. You know, sidewalks typically require a couple of inches of sandier type material to kind of a leveling course, and it matched identically with the material that was being generated from our crushers, and that was a material that could just be picked up literally with a dump truck there, taken right to the job site, and applied for new sidewalk projects. We also used it for pipe bedding. So in our trenches around pipes, we were able to use some of this material, and that was another great low-hanging fruit application where you could take this material just as is and use it in a great engineering application. And we had some other more complicated, challenging type of applications. One was a pervious pavement, where we had a drainage issue on one of our sites, and we used some of the glass with a kind of a pervious pavement cell, kind of plastic grid type of product. And we used that glass to solve a drainage issue, and that worked very well. We did have some lessons learned on that, though, as well, which we'll probably get into tomorrow morning. But and we had we tried to use chip seal. We tried to use some of this stuff for chip seal, and that was another lesson learned. We didn't quite get that material to bind properly to the asphalt, and after doing a little more research, we think we learned why. And we also used it as a road base on not critical roadway projects. We had some park roads and whatnot, and that was another interesting one that kind of a little more challenging, but but another good application. So we had 5 really good ones there.
Well, it sounds like there's a lot of applications, and I see a lot of people taking notes here in Anaheim. So at home, if you have used recycled glass in any applications in your municipality, we would love to hear what it was. It also sounds like there's a lot of experiments going on, which is really neat as well. So if you have experimented using recycled glass, we'd love to hear about that, because that's why we're all here, right? We're here to learn from our peers. And it looks like we're going to learn from one of our peers in the virtual audience right now. Thanks, Dana.
We are. Emily. Lisa Sheltra is outside of Burlington, Vermont. Hello, Lisa. Thank you for joining us. And she wanted to share that they have used recycled glass underneath a pedestrian path. They were able to get the glass for free, and they've been extremely happy with it.
Excellent, excellent. It's great to hear, and I think that's the big thing, is that there's really this is kind of an issue that needs to be solved at a local level. Each community has a different scenario on whether there's the glass that's kind of being collected, is this commingled or colors or not, or is you're generating your own crushed glass. Do you need to go find this material from a recycling facility or whatnot? So that's exciting to hear. So thank you.
Thank you. And are there any barriers to using recycled glass in public works projects?
Absolutely. And that was really, I think, what kind of compelled us to come and present at APWA here. We learned quite a bit from our own lessons learned on the barriers. But we also realized that we had some unique things that probably made it a little easier for us to jump right in. We had our own waste collection division in our public works department. I know only about 30% of public works departments have a solid waste service group. So we kind of had that going for us. We had our own recycling facility already. We had our own crushers, and some of that stuff really didn't probably apply to everyone. So we started thinking, what are some of the other issues we would have if we, what do we learn from our own experience, and what kind of problems would we have encountered if we didn't have kind of the wheels greased for us, so to speak. And so most of the barriers really fell into 4 main categories, we felt. One was the material properties themselves. What is the particle size of the material that's being generated, to the gradation of it, the makeup of it, how much physical debris does it have in it, paper and plastic and other things, and maybe finding a consistent and uniform material. Is it being generated day to day in a similar fashion so that you can rely on it? And that was one main barrier. And another barrier was from the technical side, and that is really, the laboratory testing involved around finding a suitable application, proving that a project can, proving the performance, I guess you might say, and a myriad of things related to specifying, allowing, requiring this material on a product, in a project. And then there's kind of a third category, really, which was the economic side, because in reality, we're not going to pursue this if it doesn't make economic sense. And that was where really taking the total cost approach for this, the total cost accounting kind of approach to this, was very beneficial. When you look at the cost of us trying to ship this material here and there, what's the cost of landfilling this material and transporting it and all these other things. So yeah, we work our way through a number of barriers that we encountered ourselves and ones that we think will benefit other people, and try to approach it from a solution standpoint.
Well, unfortunately, the barrier that we're having to deal with right now is time. If you have any one last remaining question, feel free to enter it via that Q&A button that you see at the lower left-hand corner of your screen. And for everyone joining us here in Anaheim, does anyone have one last question? We'd love to hear it.
Okay, so why were all those colors of glass all commingled? They weren't being separated? You just were throwing them into one big pot?
Yes, that's a great point, and that's probably one of the most interesting aspects of all this. If glass can be separated, obviously it's going to have a great market value. But in order to really do that effectively, one of two things has to happen. Either it needs to be separated at the source by you or I when we're recycling, or it needs to go through a process of being sorted after it's been collected. And that's where the glass industry has done a great job with new technologies to do that. But by and large, the single stream, the curbside collection has really gained steam over the last 10 years. So there's more and more of this glass that's coming in commingled, and that's really where the source is.
It's too cost prohibitive to...
So the question was, is it too cost prohibitive to sort the commingled glass?
Yep, that's a good balancing kind of thing there. The glass industry wanted more, they needed more. There's a lot of investment in sorting new technology with optical sorting. Very expensive, but it's worth more on the market. So those kind of things are balanced out, but there's always going to be this commingled source, either from glass that breaks. And, another interesting point is that you have, even amongst all the glass that's collected, even today, we still have 66% of all glass containers that get used just get landfilled. And that's a huge amount of glass that will need to be addressed in the future, and kind of a tailwind to this whole thing. So we know that this material is going to be there, something that's going to be dealt with in the long haul.
Well, it sounds like, luckily for the commingled glass, visionaries like yourself who are experimenting are using this recycled glass in your own municipalities and in your public works projects. So, Steve, thank you so much for spending some time with us and talking to us about using recycled glass in public works projects. For everyone here in Anaheim, Steve is doing his presentation tomorrow. That's the 29th of August at 8:30 a.m. And for more information, be sure to visit the EPA or check out Clean Washington Center. Steve said that there's a lot of really good case studies and best practices there. And for everybody, be sure to come on back at 12:30 p.m. Pacific time, where we are going to chat with David Hertzberg, who is the Director of Public Works for Joplin, Missouri, as he discusses 20 Minutes in May, the Joplin, Missouri tornado of May 22nd, 2011. Steve, thank you so very much, and we will see everybody back here at 12:30 Pacific time.